KOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Our next guest has a book that'll convince you that you should just give it a shot. Just try it. You're in Florida, right? You've never gone skiing, right? Well, get behind the boat, and see what happens. You'll probably fall down. But guess what? It's water. You'll be okay. And then you get back up. Our next guest makes that point. It's in a book called "It's Great to Suck at Something." Karen Rinaldi is a professional preacher of the gospel of suckitude. Oh, I like that. She's obviously an author. She worked in the publishing industry for over 2 decades. She founded the imprint Harper Wave at HarperCollins Publishing. She's a journalist, a contributor to the New York Times, Oprah, Time, Lit Hub, and the feature film Maggie's Plan is based on Karen's novel The End of Men. Really, that's cool. It's great to suck at something. Karen Rinaldi, you don't suck at this, that's for sure. Good morning, Karen. How you doing?
Good morning. Hi. Thank you for having me on.
Good. You're with me. I'm Larry, and Joe's coming to the microphone right now, just so you know who you're talking to.
Poof, here I am.
Wow. Okay, Joe. Voice.
All right, so let me tell you about what we do here. Yeah. I can suck at this today, even though I've done it since 1984. I have good days.
I'm not even going there.
What's that?
Probably more good days than bad.
Let's hope so, right? But I think, like in writing, for example, with what you do, with what your profession is as a journalist, doesn't that same thing happen where when you first start out, maybe you're not as good as you will be a few years later, but then you still have your moments when something just doesn't work?
Yeah, especially in writing. I think writing preps you really well for a life of accepting your less than perfect status, because when you write, you mostly write terrible stuff, and then the good stuff comes through, after trial and error. Yeah. And that's true for writing when you're beginning. It's mostly bad, and then it gets better. But even when you're experienced in it, writers, have to write badly in order to get to the good stuff, no matter how experienced you are. So I always think that writing is a great, it's a great and humbling sort of effort to make, and just keep doing it. And when people get frustrated, say you just have to write through it. You have to write badly through.
That's what they say.
Yep.
But okay, if we compare, writing is an art. So let me just compare that to skiing. If you get skiing wrong, you say, okay, let me do this, and eventually you're probably going to be pretty good at it all the time. But we went down to the museum in St. Petersburg for the artist, oh gosh, what's his name, Joe? The guy with the mustache. What's his name? Salvador Dali.
Okay, you beat me to it. Okay.
Okay. Now, if you look at his early work, it's beautiful. He's got these beautiful landscapes, but for some reason it's considered not good. And then his later work was considered good. Same thing with Picasso, right? He had beautiful, and who's the other guy that we had on the show?
Picasso wasn't on the show.
No. But
that would have been a feat.
No.
Yeah, well, he was.
No.
Kill him, yeah.
No, who's the guy we had on? The pop artist.
Jeff Koons.
No.
Peter Max.
Thank you.
Peter Max.
Whoa, I wasn't even here on that one.
Same thing with him.
That was good.
His early work was like beautiful landscapes, but for some reason the critics didn't like it, and then he went into his style.
Well, I think in art, a lot of it is that early stuff is derivative. It tends to be representational, and it's not that interesting. And to be good at that, you have to do it in a way that has, when you're looking at that landscape, that it doesn't look like anybody else's landscape. But I think that's the road to getting to their voice. It's the same thing in writing. It's like there's a voice on a canvas. It's true in music, too, right? When you're learning, you're derivative. And to find your original voice where you're going to contribute something new, whether it's writing or music or painting or any of the arts, that takes, there's no time frame, but that takes a lifetime to develop.
Well, let me ask you something then. Yeah, when you say it sucks, isn't that really you're depending on someone else's opinion?
You mean to my theory about it's great to suck at something?
Yeah.
No, I think that's something sucks is what you're asking.
Yeah. Does that?
No, I think that's a good. No, it's a really good question. Actually, it's a great question. And no, so the answer is absolutely not. So the idea is to invite you to try new things and to embrace new things, do them with intention, even without the reward or the goal in mind. You do it for the simple pleasure of doing it. And you might find, I think that a lot of people don't start doing things new. They say, oh, I could never do that. I'll never be good at it. I could never ski. I won't be good at it. I can't surf. I won't be good at it. And when I first started surfing really late in life, a friend of mine was also starting, and then he stopped right away. And I said, why did you stop? Don't you love it? And he said, no, I'm never going to get good at it, so why bother? And I thought, oh, my gosh, that stops you from all the joy that you could have going out, paddling out, catching a wave or two. You know, I don't catch a lot of waves. I catch a wave a session. I can be out there for 2 hours. I don't care. And it's the thing that I love doing the most. So the idea is that you don't know what you're going to fall in love with if you don't allow yourself to suck at it.
So in writing the book, did you speak to other people who became good at something after having the courage to do something they sucked at?
Well, good. So then that goes back to the original question, which is what is being good at it. I was just talking to friends of mine yesterday about my surfing, and they said, but you know, I've seen you surf. You can surf. And I said, oh, I can surf, but I'm not very good at it. So what I found is that in talking to not only to experts and just to people in general, so many people have either something they're doing that they suck at that they don't like to talk about because they're not very good at it. And I'm saying, come out of the closet on what you suck at and celebrate it. Just, that's the joy of doing it. And then you invite all these other conversations. And then I did talk to people who were experts. You know, I talked to a woman named Caddy Kay, who's an expert in confidence, right? Because she wrote a book called The Confidence Code. And she was talking about how she kite surfs. You know, she's a jock. She does a lot of different things. And the thing she really struggles with is kite surfing. And she does it anyway, and she's saying that by doing it and sucking at it actually helps her feel confident, which seems counterintuitive, but it's actually not, because having the guts to do it, right, gives you confidence.
But is there always the goal to not suck anymore? I mean,
okay.
Everybody says, will you get better? Will you get better? It's like, yeah, you'll get better. Listen, you will get better. But will you be that image in your mind of the person who goes off to win the Grand Slam, in a tennis tournament? No. What, will you have fun playing? Will you beat your friend eventually? Hopefully, yes, if your friend isn't getting better at the same rate as you are.
Karen answered my question. I had, even though you might suck on it, does it matter, or just to enjoy yourself?
That's the whole thing is about embracing the journey.
That's us with golf, right?
Golf, you know what? Golf is the biggest one. People talk about it all the time because people suck at golf because it's so hard, and they get really upset about it. Right?
Don't
they?
No, I'll have to say I occupy the course.
Oh, I love that. That's an awesome way of putting it. That's beautiful.
That's good.
But do you like it when you're out there?
I look at the course more than play the course. And I enjoy how it looks. Where there's courses that are built on sides of mountains. I mean, it's like you would love to live there.
Yeah.
Instead of hitting this little round ball and trying to find where you hit it.
There's no audience there though. Like when you.
Oh yeah, I'm my own audience. You kidding me?
So we speak,
exactly.
Karen,
exactly.
We speak to authors all the time. And I'll look at the Amazon thing. I'm going to do that with your book in a second. And I'll see 5-star ratings and 1-star ratings. Oh. And I'm like, holy cow. Some people love it, and some people
hate it.
Absolutely don't. So how do you know? Yeah. I mean, are the people who give it 1 star putting you in the sucky category?
Yeah, they probably are. I'm okay with that. Remember, I'm an expert at this, so you can tell me I suck at it. So, but the whole thing about sucking at something, though, here's the secret. You talk about your own suckitude. You don't talk about other people's.
Did you say suckitude?
Yeah, I call it suckitude.
As an attitude.
Okay.
It's a word. I don't know what the word is.
It's your word.
No,
that's it. Yeah.
My word.
You wrote the book.
I did. But yeah, no, it's about celebrating your own. But when people don't like my stuff, I'm okay with that. That's their opinion, and they're entitled to it. It doesn't it doesn't. I know what I think about my own book and why I wrote it and what it is, and if I feel confident in that. Is it a perfect book? Hell no.
Yeah, but this is a fun idea that you have, the premise of the book, and here's why. Because let's say, for example, go back to golf. I would definitely suck at this, but as long as it was fun, it would still be worth doing. And it sounds like surfing is in that category, and many different sporting kind of things, right?
A lot of sporting, I think some crafts. I know somebody, crafting can be hard. Pottery, throwing pottery can be hard. Cooking is really hard. And cooking, by the way, is one of those things where I just wrote about this in my newsletter, is that cooking, even though I've been doing it for 40 years, I'm actually good at it. I'm really good at it. Mm-hmm. I can still make crap food. Every once in a while, I do something going, oh, man, that was bad.
Yeah, but isn't that based on an audience? Don't the people who you're feeding?
No, it's me.
No?
Me.
Oh, you have
all
to.
me looking at it. Yeah,
but you eat your mistakes, don't you?
As long as I didn't bleed into the prep, yeah.
Well, you can still eat your own mistakes, yeah, right.
Oh, I love that. That's a fun topic, definitely. So are you getting feedback from people who have now regained confidence, even though they know they're not going to enter into whatever they've chosen to do with any skill that it would be impressive upon the people who are very good at it?
Well, yeah. So the idea is to do this for you, not to do it for anybody else. I mean, that's the part of the big thing of this is getting over what other people think of you, right? That's if we can say, it's what you think about yourself. And what you feel about yourself, I believe, will get projected out onto others. So it's a feedback loop, right? So if you forgive yourself and you're generous with yourself about your lesser talents, and then, by the way, be very honest about what it is that you are good at. Say, yeah, I'm a really good cook. I'm really good at being a publisher. I really suck at surfing. But the other thing is that you're going to suck at the things you're even good at. But if you forgive yourself, then when people throw those arrows at you and they criticize you, you kind of go, yeah, okay. And it seriously doesn't have an effect because you've already gone through the process of accepting the fact that you're beautiful, imperfect self. When somebody says you're imperfect, I go, yes, I am.
Tell me something I don't know. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it takes away. Not only does it take away the sting, but it doesn't make it fun for the other person too. The other person's basically being a bully in a way by a lot of the haters, and people can have opinions about my book, and I'm cool with that. But the haters online, and we all know this, right? The people are mean. The people are just mean. You know what
they are mean. Oh my gosh!
They're not talking about you. They're not talking about me. And who are they talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah,
themselves. They're
really
talking about.
Really?
Well, the whole thing I love to hear is.
I have to look at those bad reports.
Why does it say like?
They're talking about themselves.
Well, see, it would matter if you cared, but you don't.
I care.
Exactly.
I don't care.
Do you care?
Really?
Do you care?
It's words.
I do. If we do an interview and I think it's really good and we put it up on YouTube, which we do all of them, and then somebody says, oh, obviously that moron hosting the show didn't read the book, I wish I could talk to those people, and I'll say, I may not have read the book. I was talking to the author.
I can't read all the book. I can't read all the book.
I was talking to the author to find out what the book is about.
It was the last time you talked to the author. Yeah.
and exactly. When was the last time you bought a book and read it? So, I mean, my thing is they just say, it's funny. I just had a piece in the Wall Street Journal. This brings this point home really well. And it was a piece about 5 women who have written books, and for some reason they chose to take a picture of me with my wetsuit and a surfboard as the kind of image that went along with the article. And it was about, it's great to suck at something, and then these other awesome books. But you know what somebody wrote in and said, and I thought this was really interesting. They said, oh, that's all fine and good for her, but what about people who are dealing with a serious illness or taking care of elderly parents?
What?
And, okay, but I went check. I've had breast cancer, and I'm constantly having to monitor it because it was not a good thing. So check, serious illness, check, my parents are elderly, and I take care of them and help support them. And I was like, you just made those assumptions about me.
Yeah, really?
Not knowing anything. And you actually got it wrong on both counts.
But you couldn't have that conversation, right?
I wouldn't, but I laughed. So when I saw the comment, I just laughed because what is that? I was saying, who is that person just making assumptions about me?
That is crazy.
Who doesn't really know. And then you go, well, I know what I've been through. I know if this is hard-earned or what my struggles were. You can make all the assumptions you want, but it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, well,
on
good
the
for
other
you.
side of that equation. Well, I think all of us, though. The same thing for you, right? People can't claim your intention. You have really good intention when you talk to authors.
Absolutely. So, we had Jack Canfield on, the guy who did the Chicken Soup for the Soul books.
Yes.
And
yes.
he told us something I wanted to bring into this conversation. He said that he looks at negative reviews as like a navigating tool. And he gave us this example of having somebody standing at the end of the room, and he blindfolds himself, and other people tell him if he's on course or not on course. And every time somebody says he's not on course, he takes that as a negative review so he can get back on course.
Okay, so now you've got all these things coming at you, right? How do you discern?
I know.
Which is so what you have to do is, and this is, I wrote an essay on this, which is called Write Your Own Bad Review when it comes to writers, right? So this is what I think writers should all do as a practice. I've talked about it. When you're writing your book or your whatever it is you're writing, write the worst review that you can imagine getting for it. In other words, poke holes at your own work. And two things that accomplishes two things. It makes you get really honest about where you failed and where you might make it better before you put it in the world. And by the way, you can't please everyone. You can't accomplish everything on every single book, right? But you can at least try to look at the fault lines honestly and bravely instead of hiding from them. And then the second thing writing your own bad review does is that when it happens, you're kind of going, oh, I've already seen it because I wrote it. And you kind of move on from that wounded ego, right? You just say, letting it go now. Because you can't write something that you will, F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote The Great Gatsby, which I think is one of the most perfectly executed written novels in the world, and people took shots at that book. I mean, they're out there.
And way better than the movie, I'll just say.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well,
hey, he read the book. Look out. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
No.
So you can't care.
I care. When you're talking about writing the books and everything, you have to care a little bit. You say, oh, I suck at this, I can't do that, but you try. So when you write your book, or when you have written your book, you do have a proofreader, do you not?
Oh, I have. We have a lot of people. When books are published, there are editors, and then behind the editors are what's called a copy editor, and behind the copy editor there's a proofreader. And you know what? After all of that effort, because all I do is publish books all day as a publisher, there's still going to be, typos. People go, I saw a typo on page 126. I'm going, yeah,
good
you
for
did.
you.
Don't you hate that?
Exactly.
Good for you, Spanky. Yeah, right.
It's very funny, but you do have, listen, there are a lot of people whose eyeballs get put on a book before it gets put into the world.
Yeah, well, same books, movies. There's always someone out there with their little magnifying glass. How can I make a fool out of them? They made a boo-boo,
Yes, because it makes them feel good. But sometimes it's funny, like, wasn't there a Coke, what was the thing with the Game of Thrones? There was a...
Oh, yeah.
What?
The coffee cup or something?
The coffee cup.
Yeah.
It was a coffee cup.
Oh,
yeah.
The list goes on. In Caribbean, Pirates of the Caribbean, there's a guy with a cowboy hat and sunglasses in the back.
I love those.
Yeah.
I love those human mistakes. I actually think those are as much fun as the rest of it.
Oh yeah, there's movies with airplanes in the sky from westerns. It's like, oh, we can't catch everything, but you're supposed to. It's a fantasy. Bingo! It's a fantasy. Live with it.
Yeah, no, we're all imperfect, and I think that's a beautiful story. That's a beautiful story, not a bad story.
So the book is titled, It's Great to Suck at Something. The subtitle, The Unexpected Joy of Wiping Out and What It Can Teach Us About Patience, Resilience, and the Stuff That Really Matters. So let's talk about what the subtitle is saying here, because I think that's maybe the whole gist of the book, is to get us to go do something new. Maybe I've never climbed a mountain. I don't think I have.
I want to start small.
I've never climbed one of those rock climbing things, I've never done that. I've always
hard.
You know why? Because I think I'm going to look like an idiot. That's why.
Who cares? And you won't. But here's what you have to change your way of looking at it, is that instead of looking like an idiot, you're awesome for trying. It's just a reframing of the same effort.
It depends on the angle of things. Yeah.
And you know what? Looking like an idiot is freeing. It's freeing. You don't have to be good at everything. You just don't.
I say it's like a picture.
You know who it's
in
hard?
the eyes of the beholder.
You know who it's hard for, though? I mean, we're all talking and we're all adults, but children in school, for example, let's say they love to watch baseball and they've never really played it. They don't know much about it. And the other kids have some level of expertise. And then now the new guy comes out there, he's just horrible at it. And they make fun of him, or they say, you can't, you suck, right? And then it just ruins everything for that child, right?
Yeah. Well, unless the child is getting good instruction that it's okay to suck at something. I mean, funny you bring up school-age kids, because a lot of this, people are taking this idea and they're bringing it into schools. Educators love it, parents love it, because that idea that every kid has to get a gold star and be good at stuff is just also too much pressure for them. Instead of just saying, go out, it's not even a gold star. It's like, if you love it, go out and play baseball. And the brave thing to do is to do it in spite of the people calling you on it. And that just takes letting those kids know at the end of the day that they are still worthy of love, even if they can't play baseball well. Really, that's the equation. You are still worthy of immense love, even if you can't catch the ball. Who cares?
Do you remember?
That basic.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Do you remember Jonathan Livingston Seagull? He could not fly well?
Yes, I do. I do. I was on the beach this weekend, and I actually thought of Jonathan Livingston Seagull just this week, because there was a flock of seagulls, and they were all flying. They all flew off in one direction, and one of them took off and flew in the opposite direction alone. And I looked at Rocco and at my son, and I just said, "Jonathan, that's Jonathan Livingston Seagull doing it his way."
Nice.
Yeah, doing it your way.
Well, that's great. I love the idea that the book is going to encourage young people, or all of us really, to just do it. You know, I can
play.
There's so many things in this world that I really should do.
Well, there's so many things to do in this world. If you can't do one and you suck at it, try something else.
Well, exactly. You don't have to hate it. You have to try it, love it. If you suck at it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, go on, move.
That there's two different types of things I'm going to say. One of them is like shooting baskets or going out on a surfboard, and you immediately know you suck. But if you write a book, you could take 2 years doing this, think you have a masterpiece, and then everybody tells you suck. That's a big investment.
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Sure. I always tell people, I talk a lot about writing, and because I'm on both sides of it as an author and as a publisher. And, usually one of the first questions I get if I'm talking to a general audience, when he raises their hand, ooh, me. I go, yeah, you, what's the question? And they'll say, how do I get published? Is the first, and I say, you're asking the wrong question. If you are writing to get published, stop writing right now. Stop writing. That's not the point. You write because you must, because you have a story to tell, because you are trying to put a puzzle together, because you investigate something in depth, and you write because you want to tell that story. And I know we want readers, but writing to get published is the wrong end of the funnel. And in a way, it's the same suck at something thing. I can't surf because I want to win a surf contest. I can't write to get published. I surf because it brings me joy. I write because it fills my soul.
That is the best attitude. Absolutely. Wow, what a great conversation we've had with you. Let's see. I found the book on Amazon. You are getting good reviews, by the way, on Amazon. I wasn't referring to your book when I said what I said earlier.
There's a couple there that are like, there are some people who are not digging it. That's okay. I'm good with that.
Oh, you're right. Funny. I'm looking at it.
I think bad reviews are funny, actually.
How can they tell you the book that's titled "It Sucks, It Sucks"?
I mean, there's some symmetry. There's a lot of symmetry in that.
Good for you. Where are you? Where are you calling from?
I am in New York City.
Oh, okay.
New York.
Let's see.
Hard to surf in New York City.
Do you have a different...
On the net, that's it.
That's your next title right there. It's hard to surf in New York City. Do you have a website you want to direct us to?
I do. So there are two. One is my author site, and it's Rinaldi, RINALDI.com, and that's my general one. And then there's suckatSomething.com, which is fun. That's just playful.
That's easier one to remember. Thank you.
And you can sign up for a newsletter, and I write, a newsletter every week about suckitude. By the way, golf was the first one I wrote, because everybody I talk to talks about golf, and they go, oh, man, I suck at golf. I grew up with golfers, so I played golf. I know how hard it is.
Karen, thank you for being on the show with us today. Good stuff.
Okay, Larry and Joe, thank you. Have a good day. Have a good week.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Okay, bye.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM.